The island of Sodor can be a noisy place full of all sorts of sounds. What sounds can you hear at Knapford Station? That doesn't sound right. That's more like it. So what was making the other sound? Yes, a herd of cows. Here's Harold the helicopter. What sound does Harold make when he flies? That doesn't sound right. That's what Harold sounds like. So what makes the other sound? It's a horse. Of course. What sound does Thomas make? No, that's not it. Who's making that sound? A family of ducks. Now that's not a duck, or a horse, or a cow. It's one of our favorite sounds on the island of Sodor. It's Thomas. Hello, Thomas. Hello, everybody. There are many different engines on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. And there are many different sounds. Let's listen to some of them. Thomas is a steam engine. When he puffs along, he sounds very different from Mavis, who is a diesel engine. Can you hear the difference? Thomas and Mavis. When Thomas collects coal from the coal yard, the coal sounds very different from the gravel Mavis collects from the quarry. The coal, the gravel. When Thomas chuffs happily across the stone bridge, he sounds very different to Mavis when she trundles over the steel bridge. The stone bridge, the steel bridge. Finally, when Thomas arrives at Brendan Docks, he applies his brakes. Thomas's brakes sound like this. Whereas Mavis's brakes sound like this. Thomas and Mavis. On the island of Sodor, there are always so many different jobs to do, and also many different sounds to hear. Thomas is puffing to the painters. It is time for him to have a fresh coat of paint. Thomas wonders if he could be a different color. What color could Thomas be painted instead of blue? What if he were red like James? Then he would be the color of a Sodor postbox, or the same color as Bertie the bus. What if he were green like Henry? Then he would be the color of grass, or the leaves on the trees. Thomas thinks red and green are lovely colors. He doesn't want to be blue anymore. Then he puffs past Trevor. Trevor is covered with lots of bright blue ribbons. He has been decorated for the fair. Blue is quite a nice color, says Thomas, for ribbons. Then Thomas arrives at the station. Can you see anything here that is blue? There's a beautiful bunch of blue balloons. Blue can be nice for balloons too, puffs Thomas. I wonder if anything else is blue, says Thomas. Can you see anything else that's blue? Of course. The sky is blue. If ribbons can be blue, and balloons can be blue, and the sky is blue, then blue is a jolly good color for engines after all, says Thomas. Thomas is very happy to be painted blue. Emily must go to Kronk Station, but she has never been there before. Thomas tells her about all the wonderful things she's going to see. First of all, said Thomas, you go through Knapford Station. Then you puff past the old lighthouse and cross over the iron bridge. I wonder if Emily can remember all those places. Through Knapford Station, past the lighthouse, over the iron bridge. Then Thomas tells Emily about even more places. You chuff up Gordon's Hill, into the castle tunnel, puff past the church, and steam through the Green Valley. Then you arrive at Kronk Station. Emily is ready to leave. Can you remember where she is going? First, Emily steams through Knapford Station. Then she passes the old lighthouse. Was it over or under the iron bridge? That's right, over the iron bridge. Then she puffs up Gordon's Hill. Then into the castle tunnel. Where is it next? Past the church. Yes, that's right. Then Emily goes through the valley and arrives at Kronk Station. Did you remember all those places Emily passed? Emily did. Well done, Emily. And well done, Thomas. Toby is waiting at the farm crossing. He notices something in the old oak tree. Can you see what it is? Caught on the branches at the top of the tree, Toby can see a balloon. A bright red balloon. Toby is surprised. When Toby trundles past a babbling brook, he is very surprised to see a frog. A beautiful green frog. Toby can hear it too. Toby cheerfully chuffs past the church when he sees something surprising in the church tower. It's a bird's nest full of baby birds. Toby can hear them too. Toby stops at Farmer McColl's field. What has he seen? There, in the middle of the field, Toby is very surprised to see a mole sitting on a molehill. Well, puffs Toby, Whatever next? Toby's day has been full of wonderful surprises. And there are always more surprises on the island of Sodor. All you have to do is look. All the engines on Sir Topham Hatt's railway like to run on time. Emily is taking some grain to the flour mill. The miller is waiting for Emily. He can't make the flour until Emily has brought him the grain. Emily brings him the grain on time. The flour is soon ready. Then Percy arrives to collect the flour. Percy is on his way. Percy is taking the flour to the baker. The baker is waiting for Percy. He can't bake his bread until Percy brings him the flour. Percy arrives on time. When the bread has been baked, Thomas arrives to collect it. Thomas is on his way. Thomas is taking the bread to market. The market lady is waiting for Thomas. She can't sell the bread until Thomas brings it to market. Thomas arrives on time. Emily took the grain to the mill where it was turned into flour. Then Percy took the flour to the bakery where it was turned into bread. Then Thomas took the bread to market. They all arrived on time. Now everyone can have toast for breakfast. Thomas and Percy have to move some troublesome trucks. Thomas is pushing. And Percy is pushing too. But the troublesome trucks are going nowhere. Can you see why? That's right. Thomas and Percy are pushing against each other. No wonder it's so difficult. Let's try this again. This time, Thomas is pulling instead of pushing. And so is Percy. But the troublesome trucks are still not moving. Do you know why? Thomas and Percy are now pulling against each other. What should they do? Exactly. One should push and the other should pull. And between them, Thomas and Percy will move those troublesome trucks in no time. Working together makes a job easier. Thomas is puffing through the countryside. He is on his way to Knapford Yard. But Thomas stops puffing. He has run out of coal. Now what is Thomas going to do? Here comes Edward. I wonder if he can help. Edward asks his fireman to give Thomas some of his coal. Edward is sharing his coal with Thomas. Now they both have some coal. And Thomas can puff all the way to Knapford Yard. Edward is chuffing cheerfully through the countryside. But what's this? Edward has to stop. He has run out of water. But here comes Henry. Henry has lots of water. Henry shares his water with Edward. Now they both have some water. And Edward can finish his journey. Henry is puffing into the yard. He is ready to collect a special delivery. But there are too many freight cars for Henry to pull. Thomas and Edward only have a few freight cars. Henry shares his freight cars with Thomas and Edward. Thomas, Edward, and Henry all share. It makes them happy and gets the job done. The children are going to school. Bertie has brought them to the station early. The children have to wait for Gordon. Listen, what's that? There's a train coming. It's a blue engine, so it could be Gordon. But look, this engine has got a tall, thin funnel. And it's only got 4 wheels. That's not Gordon. Do you know who it is? It's Edward. The children like seeing Edward, but today he is carrying coal. The children still have to wait for Gordon. Listen, what's that? There's another train coming. I wonder if this one is Gordon. It's another blue engine. But look, this engine has big water tanks over its wheels. And it's got the number 1 on its side. That's not Gordon. But do you know who it is? It's Thomas. And he's pulling Annie and Clarabelle. The children love seeing Thomas. But Thomas doesn't stop at this station. The children still have to wait for Gordon. Listen, what's that? There's another train coming. I hope this one is Gordon. It's another blue engine. This engine has a very short funnel. It's very big and very fast. It's Gordon! The children waited patiently for Gordon. And now Gordon will get them to school on time. Well done, Gordon. Thomas loves feeling like a really useful engine. But sometimes being really useful is hard work. In wintertime, snow can fall onto the railway lines. Sometimes snow can stop Thomas in his tracks. Then Thomas has to wear his snowplow so he can finish his job on time. Sometimes the weather is foggy and it is hard for Thomas to see. So Thomas's driver lights his lamp, and Thomas puffs slowly and carefully. He blows his whistle to warn everyone he's coming. It's hard work, but Thomas always does his best. Thomas has other hard jobs to do. Often he has to pull freight cars full of slate and coal. It's very tiring pulling them uphill. And when Thomas goes down the other side, the heavy freight cars make it hard to slow down. So Thomas has to put his brakes on all the way down. But even when the work is hard, Thomas always tries his best and gets the job done. Thomas is a really useful engine. On the island of Sodor, everybody enjoys helping each other. If Annie and Clarabelle come off the track, who do you think can help Thomas get them back on their wheels? Harvey. Harvey loves helping his friends. He carefully lifts Annie and Clarabelle up and puts them safely back on the track. Gordon pulls the express up Gordon's hill. But when he has lots of coaches, he has to go slowly, and sometimes he needs help. Who can help Gordon and his coaches get safely up the hill? Edward. Edward is always happy to help any engine who needs an extra push. And what if James suddenly broke down? Oh dear. Now James can't go anywhere. But James isn't worried. He knows he has lots of friends who can help. Bertie the bus can take his passengers to the station. And Thomas is happy to tow James to the repair yard to be fixed. And everyone will help do James's jobs for him while he is away. And everyone will welcome James back when he is ready to be really useful again. There are always lots of jobs to do on the island of Sodor. Helping one another makes Sir Topham Hatt's railway run smoothly. It's a beautiful day on the island of Sodor. Percy has been chosen to take some children to the seaside. But Percy feels nervous. It's a very special job. Percy wants the children to have a wonderful day. What can Percy do to make himself feel better? Percy can fill his water tanks at the water tower. Then Percy knows he can make lots of steam and keep his engine nice and cool all day. But what can Percy do next to make himself feel good? Percy can have a lovely long washdown. Percy loves being clean and shiny. Now Percy looks his very best. What can Percy do next to feel good about his trip? Percy can make sure his tender is full of coal. Percy looks his best and is ready to go. Percy can steam ahead and know he'll arrive safely and on time. So what did Percy do? First, Percy filled his tanks with water at the water tower. Then, Percy had a really good wash. Finally, he made sure his tender was full of coal. Now Percy feels like a really useful engine. And he is ready to collect the children. Have a nice day at the seaside, Percy. Emily is taking coal to the docks. She has lots of coal cars, and they are very heavy. Emily has to puff up Gordon's hill. Gordon's hill is long and steep. The coal cars are too heavy. Emily can't pull them up the hill by herself. I wonder who can help Emily. Who helps engines up Gordon's hill? Edward helps engines up Gordon's hill. Edward pushes as hard as he can. Emily pulls as hard as she can. Together, Edward and Emily get the coal cars to the top of Gordon's Hill. Edward is a very helpful engine. And good friends always help each other. Today, Thomas has to collect some timber from the new timber yard. It's the first time Thomas has been there. Toby is telling him the way. See if you can remember the way too. First, Toby tells Thomas, go along the seaside. Next, collect some water at the water tower. Then puff through Wellsworth Station. Thomas is trying to remember all those places. Can you remember them? Along the seaside. Collect some water at the water tower. And through Wellsworth Station. Then, Toby tells Thomas, go under the stone bridge. Then follow the canal until you arrive at the timber yard. Thomas is ready to leave. I hope you were listening. Thomas might need your help. Can you remember where he goes first? First, Thomas goes along the seaside. Can you remember what Thomas needs to do next? He needs to fill up with water. Now where does he go? Through Wellsworth Station. Now, was it under or over the stone bridge? Can you remember? Under the stone bridge. Then follow the canal. And at last, Thomas arrives at the new timber yard. Did you remember all those places? Thomas did. Well done, Thomas.